everybody. My next guest is a true rock and roll thought leader who has done it all. As a world-class drummer, he has toured the world with such legendary artists as Cyndi Lauper, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Bo Diddley, Johnny Winter, and the Monkees. These days, he's taking the lessons he learned from life and from rock and roll and providing extraordinary results in energizing, motivating, and inspiring crowds all over the world as a motivational speaker. His book, Beat the Odds in Business and Life, can be found on Amazon and wherever good books are sold. Here he is, the one and only Sandy Gennaro. Sandy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just fine, Don. How you doing?
Great, man. This is so awesome to talk to you because I see a guy like you said, we talked a little bit earlier. You're, pretty much a local guy, Staten Island, New York City, and the universe has been good to you and probably taken you well beyond your wildest dreams.
Absolutely.
So just tell me a little bit about growing up in Staten Island and having this dream. I saw that you got this drum that your mother gave you when you were young. You still have it to this day. You're a self-taught drummer from the beginning, right? Pretty much. And that just take me through your career path that led you to all this greatness.
Well, it all started when I got a drum, that toy drum that you talked about for Christmas when I was 2.5, living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And then when I saw the beat, I never saw I was always attracted to rhythm, but I never saw a drummer play live until the Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan, November 9th, 1964. Never forget it. That was my defining moment. I cut out a picture of a drummer from a drummer's standpoint. I scotch taped it on my mirror, and I looked at it every day, and I said, "That's going to be you, Sandy." So, that was my defining moment. I knew at that point, at 74 years old, I realized how lucky I was to know exactly what I wanted to do when I was 13 years old. And so I started playing in cover bands, and this is my life on Staten Island. I played high school dances and whatever, and then I got snuck into my first bar when I was 16 and played. And every time I smell cat pee, I think of that bar. It was a place called Gigi's on Bay Street in Staten Island. I think now it's some sort of Chinese restaurant or something.
And it still
That
smells
was
like pee there, I think.
That's it probably it probably does. So I spent all those years. I started playing in clubs, and for all those years, I moved to L.A. to get my first big break in the music business, and stuff happened there. I ended up moving back to New York with an offer to audition for this band called Blackjack, and the singer in the band was Michael Bolton. This is
Yeah.
before he became a solo artist. So that was basically the start of it right there. It was a wild journey because I was playing clubs in and around New York and Staten Island, Long Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Connecticut, Jersey for about 12 years. And I was wondering when the page was going to turn. So I
Right.
ended up moving to LA on the advice of a good friend of mine. His name was Frank Mataloni. His stage name is Earl Slick. He got the gig with Bowie and whatever, and he had to move to LA in
Right. Yeah.
the middle 70s to because that's where Bowie was based, I believe. And so I moved out there and started searching for a gig, and then I ended up getting. It's a long story, but I ended up getting the opportunity with Blackjack, and that was the start of it.
When you were grinding out, was that the 70s and in the 80s type era of the kind of the bar scene?
The bar scene started. I started playing bars when like around 1967, 68.
Wow.
I was still in high
Yeah.
school. As I said, I was
Oh yeah,
six.
that's right. You were young and getting in
I
there.
was 16. So, and then that happened all through the 70s. And then in 1976, I moved to Los Angeles until 79. And then 79, I moved back to New York, got the gig, and then I got signed to Polydor, went to Criteria to do the record, and
Right.
that record was released in 1979.
Wow. So you came up grinding on the scene, drumming, getting into bands, doing it the kind of like as they say now the old-fashioned way. What do you think is missing nowadays with these kids that, the new way with all the social media and the different ways you could do it? You got, there's so many different ways to get discovered now. Some might say it's easier, some might say it's harder because it's so congested. There's so many. What would your advice be to new artists now? Is it like, do you think it's better to come up the way you did, or do you wish, man, I wish they had these tools back when I was a kid?
Well, it's a bittersweet thing, Don, because yeah, we have a tremendous amount of tools at our disposal. If you want to learn an instrument, there's all kinds of lessons on YouTube. If you want to learn how to play a song, there's a guy playing the song on the drums. You know what I mean? In one way, I wish I had the tools. But in another way, it's like you said, it's really with the internet and social media and Spotify and brick and mortar record companies and non-existent. It's really diluted right now. It's just like the floodgates opened. So if you have access to the whole ocean, but you're a little cup of shot glass full of water, what chance do you have?
Yeah,
So in my case, the only way you heard songs was listening to the radio, and then when an album was released, you went to buy the vinyl
right,
and you brought it home and you listened to it. How I got my gigs was I was on the phone with management companies. Hey, I'm a drummer. Can I send you my resume? Hard mail, USPS.
right.
And that's how you learn to get gigs. You went to certain clubs where there was open mic nights. You met other people. It was face to face. It was not more. Wasn't face to screen. It was
Right, yeah.
face to face, playing with actual people, handing your business card out. Hey, if you ever need any help, I never asked for a gig, but I always said, if you ever need any help, I'm a drummer and I'm willing to, help you out or whatever. So yeah, so I think it's a bittersweet kind of thing to answer your question because I thank God every single day that I was born in 1951. And my teenage years from the age of 10 up until the age of 20, that was in the 60s.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when everything was blossoming. The Beatles played very first arena show, and I
Yeah,
have I have the little flyer right there on my wall there,
that's awesome.
Shea Stadium. So
That's crazy.
yeah, so I'm happy that I was born, and even my daughter was born in 1994, before the big wave of social media. So she kind of was brought up in the old school OG way. Uh,
Right, right.
she wasn't allowed to have a computer in her room, not even a TV in her room. So we monitored all of that stuff, and she went through the business. She's a tour manager now. She just got off the road with the Pretenders as a tour manager.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, she's doing very well here in Nashville. She's now a production manager, a place called Brooklyn Bowl here in Nashville. They got a couple of other. It was run by Live Nation, so she's got a good gig right now. But she was brought up kind of semi old school,
Right. Yeah, like right in the middle, right in the teeter, but before the
Correct.
world changed, kind of like before.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
But I think there's something special to coming up the old school way, and I think there's some people that still try to do it that way now, try to do face to face and try to grind it out and not lean on social media so much. And we get the same thing. I do a lot with the comedy world, and it's the same
Right.
thing with comedians. They face the same issues where you're seeing some people really fast track that might not be ready for the big leagues or ready to be a headliner or that sort of thing. And I would think it's the same thing
Yeah.
with musicians. Like some guy might just light it up one day on a social media track, but really not be seasoned up to be able to tour, you
Right.
know?
Right. And you know what? I didn't even mention the way music is produced these days. If you have a keyboard and a microphone, and GarageBand in your Mac, you can you can uh, you can record a record. And Billie Eilish did the exact same thing.
Right.
She
Yeah.
and she walked out of the Grammys with an arm full. She needed a dump truck to get the Grammys out of the Grammy awards ceremony.
Five Grammys. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
But and she did it with her brother who produced the record in her living room. So, I like breaking sticks when I
Right. Yeah.
as opposed to- boom, which I got my foot wet in the early '80s because Cyndi Lauper liked that kind of consistent vibe with the drum machine. So I live in front of an arena audience, I had to play along with a Lynn drum. That was
R-
one of the first drum computers, and she had it brought out on stage for two songs, and I had to play along with it. I had the Lynn drum in my headphones, and I had to marry my track with the Lynn drum. So
That's
but yeah,
crazy.
so that was at the beginning. That was the beginning of the tidal wave, you know. So the idea is technology is here and it's here to stay. And I could talk till I'm blue in the face about how I love the way it used to be. But if you're a musician now, you got to become friends with the technology because it'll pass you right by. Even though you may reject the idea of how you produce a record, you got to be in that boat on that river because you're not going to do anything else. And I learned that by with the advent of drum machines. A lot of drummers, contemporary drummers in the early '80s, because I
Right.
was a teacher at that point, they rejected the whole idea. It's going to take gigs away, which it did. A lot of the demos, a lot of the songwriter demos, you got paid or jingles. Now they're using drum machines. But I said, listen, it's going to be here to stay. Become friends with it, or else you're going to be left by the wayside. And I wrote an article for Modern Drummer in 1985 called Approaching the Scary Monster, which is how your mental approach to technology in regard to how it applies to the music business.
Wow. Yes, you were ahead. You were definitely ahead of the times with that article. And
Yeah,
did you
it's
ever, in your wildest?
1985. You can look at moderndrummer.com. If you can research issues, it was sometime in '85, and the name of the article was Approaching the Scary Monster.
And here we are. Oh, now that was 85. Here we are, 2025, and there's another scary monster, and that's AI. Like,
No kidding. No kidding. It's I've been kind of to put my toe in that pool, and I'll tell you what, it's just amazing. It's amazing used in a constructive, positive way. It's amazing, and I'm really curious of where that's going to go. Where are we going to be 10 years from now with 10 years of AI, or even some people have been fooling around with AI for a number of years now. So I'm curious of where it's going to take us. My regret is that AI is accessible. Everybody has access to AI, and especially the people that like phishing and the people like duping elderly people on the phone and all
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
It's scary where it could be taken in a negative way.
It's
But I
getting
don't
more
want
and more real, and that's what makes it scary. Is it's you watch some of these things like fake news reports, and then they'll show you that's AI at the end, but you're like, what the heck? Like this could like really legit fool people, you know.
And you know what? In the beginning infancy stages, which we are now, if you see a fake video on Instagram, it looks, but you could kind of tell. But this is in the infancy stages. It looked kind of real. If an elderly person looks at this video that doesn't have sharp intuition, they
Right.
look at real. But how is it going to be 5 years from now, even next year, when they perfect the images and to perfect the technology where you can't tell the difference? I thought that was your room. I asked you about that shark
Right. Yeah,
behind you.
exactly.
You said it was virtual. You said it was the Steve from Wayne's World. I didn't recognize it as such. But there you go. So that's
That's
AI looking
that's a
at me in
great
the
point. I'm in an AI space right now. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, but I think there's always going to be just like now with music, there's music collectors that are still searching out, vinyl records because they want
Oh,
that sound, and I think that's what's going to lead to. So yeah, we can get these polished or whatever AI type of things, where people can make songs on their own and make music on their own, or art or comedy or what have you. But I think there's going to be a demand from the people to want real stuff. Like it will actually say need it real, or live. It might enhance the live experience because people got to get out and see things
and
live.
you know what? You know what, Don? It's you're saying you're speaking the truth. And from my experience with drum machines, if you listen to recordings, if you listen to like Eurythmics in the early '80s, there's drum programming all over that. But then around middle 80s, late 80s. Everybody used it when it first came out, and you could tell, you listen to records, you could tell it's a machine. I can tell in a minute, less than a minute. But then it started coming around. Then producers wanted real drummers to play along with drum machines
Right.
to get the live thing and triggering digital sounds of samples of drums. But the drummer was actually playing. He might be playing to a click. He might be triggering digital sounds on his acoustic drums, but there was live performance there. It was sort of a mixture of live and drum machines. So that's where we are right now, I believe.
Yeah, it's just crazy how that works. You would think like, that music would always be, in just certain instruments, but it
Live.
keeps evolving. Yeah,
Right, right. You know what? I used to tell my students, I said, listen, if you don't become friends with a drum machine, you're going to be left behind because now maybe they're using clicks. They're starting to use clicks in rock and roll sessions in the studio, like click tracks.
Right, yeah.
I said in the future, and when we get to the 2000s, we're going to be using clicks live triggering different sounds. So the drummer, you look at any kind of punk band, Taylor Swift, Metallica, they got headphones and they got in-ear monitors with some sort of timekeeping device because they're triggering sounds, horn sounds, keyboard sounds, background vocals that the people are not there on stage.
Right.
So anyway, so even country artists here in Nashville, I got a good friend that plays with major country artists, and he says they use clicks all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you said, you have to embrace the change, embrace the evolution, or you will be left behind.
Correct.
And and
Absolutely.
and we came a long way from the 70s and 80s. I'm 54 years old. I was born in 71. I was the perfect target age for Cyndi Lauper when she came out and hit with the Goonies and all that era.
Right.
Um, I would dance around. I would dance around the house. I never tell this story. I would dance around the house. The girls just want to have fun, and my father would be like, "Well, Don, are you okay? What's going on here?"
Right.
But in any case, it's just so cool that you were not only a part with the band with Cyndi Lauper, but also part of that whole '80s music era, because so many great and iconic people, iconic artists, iconic music all comes out of that era, and Cyndi Lauper was a huge part of it. I mean, she's got a collection of songs that are just iconic. What's it feel like, when you look back at those days and just be like, wow, like, and plus, with Joan Jett and all that other stuff we'll get into, but just being a part of like that kind of pop stardom and being from the beginning and shoot and watching the launch.
That was the special part of it, Don, was the fact that, to play with a successful artist, that's not that unusual. I mean, there are people that join, like I joined Joan Jett's band in 1988. She was already she wasn't in the Hall of Fame yet, but she had hits. So that was a up and running gig.
Right.
But with Cyndi, I joined her band when nobody knew who she was. The first album was just released, and we started playing small little gigs, and we opened for the Kinks, and then we played. I remember a couple of gigs that a guy was throwing flicking cigarettes at Cyndi, and whatever.
Wow.
She was not wholeheartedly accepted. But then we played the MTV New Year's Eve ball, 83 into 84, and she rocked it. The band rocked it. She had a great band. And I'm happy to say that I was the most important person in the band, as the drummer is always the most important person in any kind of band because we are the heartbeat, we are the backbone.
Hit me, band!
And Cyndi was
Exactly.
obviously the focus, but the band was totally in sync, and she rocked it. And as a result, we were asked to go to LA to appear on Carson early on,
Yeah.
early in '84. Like it was right after January '84, I believe.
Would you welcome, please, Cyndi Lauper.
An American Bandstand with Dick Clark.
This is Sandy Gennaro on drums.
Hi, Sandy. Nice to have you. Hey, oh, bless you. Thank you. All right here.
And once those shows aired, and Carson loved her, and she loved Carson, and the gig exploded.
Looking out for themselves. And you say, well, who can you trust? I'll tell you, yeah. Nobody else is the money.
So that, what you say, the trajectory was like she was selling millions of records, like with the album being out like a matter of months.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
we did a tour of Europe, just TV.
Wow. Yeah.
2 weeks, one city each day, just doing national TV shows. It was just unbelievable. And I'm happy to say that I'm very, very happy that Cyndi was just recently inducted in the Hall of Fame. There was just recently a network special of her live gig at the Hollywood Bowl, just like last week, I think it was on.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Paramount Plus or whatever. But yeah, I'm very happy for her, and you know that
You
it
talk
was
about
just an unbelievable experience, and that's an experience that not a lot of musicians get, where they join a band at the early infancy stages when nobody knew she was, and then boom, it explodes. And Cyndi was the type of artist that she liked the band to accompany her to, like, MTV. She was asked to be a guest VJ on MTV. She wanted the band there.
This is Sandy Gennaro. He plays drums.
Hello.
This is John Kay.
that's
Interview.
cool.
She wanted the band there, so it was awesome. It was awesome.
It was lightning in a bottle when I look at Cyndi Lauper and the band and all of you, what happened. It was the 80s sound. She was kind of ahead of the curve with the look and her whole vibe, and then also MTV. It was just like this whole perfect kind of fusion,
Right.
And
Right.
it just set it off.
Yep,
And-
and the girls just want to have video. The girls just want to have fun video with Lou Albano.
Yeah.
And then it started the integration of the wrestling thing. And there was, God is my witness, Don. I saw a post today on Facebook explaining how Cyndi early on in like 1978 or something, like early, she was in a band called Blue Angel, and they had a gig at a club. They pulled up to this club in Lower East Side of Manhattan. It didn't mention the name of the club, but I'm guessing it was CBGB's, because the club that we're talking about turned into a high fashion store, and I think the CBGB's is kind of a clothing store where they sell $150 T-shirts. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's crazy.
I got a story of Barbados. Barbados is a famous designer, and that's his store right now in the location of CBGB's. I got a
Barbados.
story about that. But what I was talking about was Cyndi pulled up, Cyndi in the Blue Angel band, and Cyndi was authentic. Her look, she's had it since she's in high school. She didn't invent that look to be different. She's different, period.
Right.
She's the most authentic person I know. Take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Pulls up to the club, and the club owner goes, "We don't want you here. We don't want no circus acts."
Oh, wow.
That was the quote. So she hung her head on the sidewalk and started crying. But she, basically what she did, the article didn't say this, but I know Lauper, and she said, she gave the Italian salute, and she said, nothing's going to stand in my way. And she persevered. She met a guy named Dave Wolf, who became her manager, and got her signed her to a management deal, got her a gig with Epic Portrait Records. They started doing the first album, and the rest is history.
But I'm gonna be strong. I'll let you go
And
So it's great.
I love
Have a
that.
tremendous amount of respect. You know what? Every once in a while, Dawn, I do a uh, a cancer benefit, a benefit for cancer, that either for Dana-Farber or breast cancer constituent in Texas or whatever. And I call my artists that I work for, hey, can you contribute some stuff for the online or for the auction, for raise money, whatever. Cyndi was one of the first people to send me some merch.
Wow, yeah.
Joan, all the artists that I work for, friends of mine, a guy that plays with sticks, Todd Shuckerman plays with stuff. Next day there's a guitar, There's certain artists that are successful now for a good reason because they give back and they realize that fans are the people that buy their download their streams or whatever and go to their concerts and whatever.
It's important to
I'm
give
one of the
back. And that,
I was just going to say I'm one of the luckiest, most fortunate, not lucky because I don't believe in luck at all. I
right.
believe mentioned the word universe. I call it the God energy. But if you treat people the right way, you have a positive outlook about the future, and you treat people the right way, the God energy smiles upon you and puts opportunities in your path. But you got to take the blinders off and recognize them when you have a chance to lift somebody up, to put a smile on somebody's face, no matter how insignificant you think it is, it goes on the ledger and it comes around. And sometimes it comes around tenfold. You know what I'm saying? So, and
Yeah.
I have stories in my career that exemplify that.
Well,
Anyway,
you mentioned David Wolf, and it like to me, a lot of your story kind of started or by being nice to David Wolf, who wanted your autograph and wanted some advice from you, and that ultimately led you to working with Cyndi Lauper.
yeah. And I was at a gig. I was playing a gig in a really hot club in New Haven, Connecticut called Toad's Place. And the band was on after the gig. The band was on the bus because we had a long overnight drive. I was the last one getting my stuff together, and there was Dave in the doorway with a camera and a pen, and I had a choice there. I could have just walked by. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry because I knew he wanted an autograph and a picture. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry. I got to go. My road manager's yell. But I engaged him because I'm thinking he's there to see the drummer. The artist is already on the bus. He's there to see the drummer. And I remember walking around the mall with my mother at 15 years old going, hey, this is a year after I started playing drums. She used to say, hey, honey, I understand why you dress like those Led Zeppelin characters, but why do you carry a pen? And I said, why do you have your autograph? I was already living as if, you know what I mean? I started dressing the part after I saw the Beatles.
Right.
That was me, man. Anyway, so I signed the autograph. I introduced myself. He introduced himself to Dave. Could you sign this? I signed the autograph for Dave Wolf. Dave, here you go, Dave. It's from Sandy. And he took a picture. He pulled out this Instamatic camera with the flash cube on top, aimed the picture. And then he asked me to get a gig he was a bass player in there in Connecticut. And he asked me to get him a gig or try to get him a gig in New York City. And I said, I can't recommend you unless I hear you play. So here's my card. I gave him my home address, my home phone number, complete
Wow.
stranger.
Yeah.
I said, here's my card. Send me a cassette of your playing and I'll see what I can do. He sent me, I got home from the tour, a cassette was in the mail. I listened to it, wasn't really that good. But almost 2 years later, he called me in the fall of '83 and said, listen, Sandy, thanks for recommending me. Um, but your drumming style and your personality would fit perfect with this girl I found, a singer in Queens. I signed her to a management deal, her record deal. We're doing our first album at the Hit Factory. We want you to come down and hear some songs or whatever. I want you to join the band. So that led to Cyndi Lauper's gig. Me, if I would have blew by this guy and said, I just want to go have a beer on the bus. I got to get out of here. Sorry, man, my life will be totally different. The punchline is, Don, the November 23rd of that year in 1984, we were still on the road with Lauper. We played the Charlotte Coliseum, and backstage, I met the woman that I ended up marrying, and she's upstairs right as I speak.
Wow.
So, we have a daughter, we have a beautiful life, a nice house here in Nashville. She's retired. We're empty nesters. living the life that I've always envisioned, better than I have envisioned, because I signed a friggin' autograph for a stranger. You know, when
Wow.
you have a chance, listen, I'm going to get a little philosophical right now, but inside you and inside me, there's something that is referred to as a soul. Okay, all human beings have it. And I envision it like a little match flame. And when I engage Dave in the doorway, it's like spraying some gasoline on that match flame. It engulfs him. It smiles. It makes him happy.
Right.
What I'm making happy, that little flame, is actually a little spark of the God energy. It's a little piece of, we think about the God energy or God or the Almighty or the universe as something that's out there. But it's in there. It's in you right now, sitting there with the headphones on, and it's in me. And let me ask you a question. When you do something nice for somebody and they show appreciation, are you more willing to do additional nice things for that person because you know they appreciate it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, when I show appreciation, when I spray the gasoline, I engulf Dave's flame inside of him. That's engulfing the God energy inside another human being. And all human beings have that, not just good people. Putin has the little bit of God energy, but it's covered up. He
Right.
doesn't recognize it. He's not a partner with that. But
Right.
you're a partner with the God energy. I'm a partner with my God energy. And our purpose on this planet is to engulf the flame in other people. And you know what? This is the end of my philosophical, but it's how we'll be judged when we're pushing up daisies. Because everything we make this world, everything material stays here, but and we reunite with the all the other little flames that have died before us or gone transitioned before us, because life is not ended, it's just changed.
Right.
And that's how we're going to be judged. To what extent did you lift other people up? All companies, all companies on this planet exist one way or another, 12 degrees of separation to make people's lives better. Human beings' lives are made better by a company somehow. So that's the purpose of why we're all together in different bodies, but we're all walking around with a little spark of God energy, and our purpose is to lift other people up. And when you do, good things happen to you, which I'm exhibit A of that.
Yes, indeed. I believe that wholeheartedly. I do believe like people feel better giving than they often do receiving, and I think there's something special to doing that for other people. And like you said too, the kind of the karma or the energy that you get back, the flame that you get back, igniting, I think is basically what it's all about. I feel like, and it's tough to be, positive all the time in this day and age, especially. But in life,
Right.
and you look at any generation in history, it's hard. It's always hard to be positive. What's the secret, or what would your advice be to keep the flame going and through the dark times?
Um, dark times, dark times, especially now in this day and age, politically speaking, dark times are as a result of human behavior. Dark times don't come from the flame, from the God energy. Dark times, human beings manufacture the God times by their actions, by the hard times, by and again, the hard times, the way the climate of politics exists now, that's one thing, and that's human created. Human beings create that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not the universe. But sometimes people in their own life go through difficult times, and each person has their own individual movie, if you will. I look at everybody's life is being they're being involved in their own movie. But it's not for me to judge that person. You know what I mean? So everybody everybody has their hard time. Everybody has problems that are put in front of their path on their way to their goal or whatever. But that could be the God energy testing you to see how bad you want what's on the other side of that problem. to test your fortitude, to test your belief in yourself, on how do you feel? Do you feel positive enough to overcome this issue, of overcome this problem? Because losers let problems use problems as excuses
Yeah.
why they can't do something. Oh, woe is me. But winners use problems as opportunities to grow.
I love that. That's true.
Overcome the issue, and your self-esteem is fortified. In other words, you add fuel to your self-esteem. You say to yourself, I nailed that gig, or I overcome that problem. It was dark at the beginning, but now there's light, and I overcame it. And so it gives you the power to overcome future problems when it gives you the self-esteem. It aids your self-esteem. So just go ahead and forge ahead, because you know what? Problems are not exclusive to you. Everybody has them, but some people have a fixed mindset. I get off the road with Cyndi Lauper playing arenas, and I'm sitting in my house first day when I'm home, and my calendar is empty.
Right. Yeah.
Fixed mindset. I'm going, how am I going to get it going? Whoa, 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 whoa. Woe is me, Debbie Downer, Dave Downer.
Right.
So it's your mindset. I look at the future. When I look at my calendar, it's empty. I can't wait to get my other game.
Yeah. Right. You keep manifesting it.
Man, if I'm going to the China Club to jam with my friends. I'm going to the bitter end tonight. I'm going to meet. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just, I don't know how and I don't know when, but I have faith in the God energy is going to guide me, because that's what I prayed for, Don, all through those years. And what I pray for now is not to be given the gift of a gig in my lap, but it just inspired me on where to go, who to call. Sometimes your sign ends up to be a person in a doorway that's asked for an autograph. Go ahead, sign that autograph. Sign that. I don't know what's going. Dave didn't have an attractive blonde sister behind him that I wanted to meet. There was no agenda,
Right.
because the God energy sees if you have an agenda by a good act. You know
Right.
what
Right.
I mean? But if there's no agenda and you do something to engage that God energy, man, the possibilities are endless.
Well, the God energy definitely, like, I feel like I'm trying to be positive all the time, the last few years, and I feel like it has changed my life for the better. Just, because you get in these dark places and you think, oh, the world's against me. But once you start to change your thinking, and I think I forget who, but it was some motivational speaker who was talking about taking, failure and looking at it not as a failure, but as an opportunity. And I think it was you who said, who quoted, was it Thomas Edison about the light bulb? He's like, I didn't
I
fail and
never made a mistake inventing the light bulb. I only learned 100 ways how not to do it.
exactly. And
You
that's
know,
the stuff I love.
it is. That's it. That nails it. And another saying that I mentioned in my presentation was, it's not who you are that holds you back. It's what you think you're not.
Yeah, that's a good one too, man.
You know what I mean? It's all up here,
It's
man.
all the
And
brain. It all begins. I tell my kids all the time, it all begins and ends with you. You can't rely on
correct,
somebody else. They're not your success or your failure. It's you. It all
correct,
starts.
correct. How many kids you got?
I started young at 19, but I have 5 kids total and 3
Wow.
grandkids. God bless.
Awesome. God bless is right. That's awesome. And you're a young guy too, relatively.
Yeah, 54. I had my first kids at 19. So I started,
Wow.
yeah. So,
Started very
but
young.
like,
That's
but
awesome.
like you said, you just got to stay positive even through that as a young dad and all that stuff that things I had to endure. But and I think that opportunities do find you one way or the other. And, like with you and your career too, I feel like everything from, that. And I feel like you were always kind of a step ahead also, because you thought it through to put a video together of your drumming, teach of a drumming lesson that ultimately got picked up. What was it, by
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, and they put it with all the drum
Oh,
sets.
and then Yamaha Drum Company picked up on it, the DVD of that, and put it in the drum case, the box of every new drum set of Yamaha drum set. It was really, and that was basically just showing kids the basics of how to play songs.
Hi, I'm Sandy Gennaro, and welcome to the second video in the Ultimate Beginner Series. If you picked up on the first video, you already know how to hold the drumsticks, you know how to play a simple beat, and you know a little bit about the drum set itself.
And was that pre-Cyndi? Or was that?
That was, oh, let me think how it relates to Cyndi's gig. It was post-Cyndi.
Yeah.
Post-Cyndi, because Cyndi was 84, 85, 83, 84 to 5. Well, part of 85. And my tenure, I produced that video when I was a faculty member at the Collective School of Music in Manhattan. And I
Wow.
started there in 1987. So that the video came out probably around, 88, 89, something like that. I got my first royalty check in 1994 from that video.
Nice.
So yeah, and how the universe works, I'll make it a really short story, a long story short, is that my first royalty check came when I needed it the most. 1994, we moved from Manhattan to Staten Island. We had to buy a house because my wife was pregnant. So we bought a house. We closed on it in August of 94. We moved from an apartment to a house.
Right.
Had our child a month before we closed on the house. We still lived in Manhattan. July 11th, she was born.
Nice.
So now that summer of 94, we were new parents, new homeowners, and moving from the city to Staten Island. We had to buy cars. We had to buy insurance for those cars. A roof needed fixing, windows, landscaping, carpets need to be, ripped out, furniture need to be bought. My credit cards were almost all maxed out. But
Wow.
that's the summer of 94. Plus, we're dealing with being a new parents for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm managing a road career, all this stuff. My first royalty check, Don, came in September of 94. 5 figures, 10K,
Wow.
just precisely when I needed it.
Wow.
Right? But you peel the layers of the onion back. Okay, I got my first royalty check exactly when I needed it as a result of a video that I've done in association with the Collective School of Music. But I only got that gig at the Collective as a faculty member because I rehearsed there. I rehearsed the monkey material in a rented room that the Collective had after hours, that they rented their rooms after hours. And the director asked me what I was doing in the room. I was not a faculty member. I was just a guy renting a room to rehearse monkey songs. And he asked me what I was doing. I told him he goes, "Did you ever think about teaching?" And I said, "No." So long story, when you get off the road, he said, contact me, I'll set you up with some students. That started a 27-year teaching career.
Wow.
Okay. So now we're peeling back another layer of the onion. Why did I have to rehearse monkey songs? Well, you know why? Because I did a really big favor for this guy that was the bass player and a musical director for this band called the Tokens. 50s, Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Oh,
They
yeah.
They had a gig at Westbury Music Fair. He called me 3 days before the gig at Westbury and said, "I lost my drummer. His mother passed away. He can't make the gig." I called every drummer in Manhattan. Nobody can do it on this short notice and meager salary, meager money. Drive from Staten Island to Westbury in the middle of the winter, 12-hour turnaround because there was 5 acts on the bill. I did him the favor. And then maybe 4 or 5 months later, he calls me and he says, "Hey, thanks for bailing me out, man. You made me a star. The band loved you. But now I'm the musical director for this band that's doing a reunion tour called the Monkees. Do you want to do it?" The summer of 87. So I did the summer of 87. That was well enough payback for helping him out on that Tokens gig.
Yeah.
I did almost every reunion tour that the Monkees did from 87 until Davy Jones passed away, 2012.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not only did I have a marvelous gig stand with the Monkees,
Yeah.
had as a result of that favor for the bass I ended up getting my day gig as a teacher of the instrument. And now I didn't have to go to Home Depot to keep the lights on between
Right.
tours. I was teaching the instrument. So all of that comes from doing a guy a favor. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Every gig, and I can go back a couple of 7 degrees of separation. Almost every gig I've had in my whole life has been as a result of me doing something of a favor. And then that gig led to, it was the dominoes falling from that. It's just unbelievable. And how I became a speaker is the same thing, wanting to put a smile on a handicapped person's face in an arena in San Diego in 2017, 2018, when I had no idea speaking was a figment of my imagination. When not even a figment of my imagination. I figured after I retire from touring and
right,
recording, I'll go back to teaching. This is my mindset at 66 years old, 2018.
right.
Okay, threw a drumstick to a handicapped person, and I made sure she had the drumstick because the guy intercepted it, but I made sure she had it. The
Nice.
next day, the husband of the woman in the wheelchair calls a Facebook message me, asks me for my phone number. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I should call my lawyer. Maybe I poked her in the eye with
Right.
it.
Yeah, you get a little nervous.
But anyway, I gave him my phone number and he called me and over the moon how thankful he was, how I made his wife feel in a positive way. I made sure she had the drumstick, whatever. And then he says, I'm coming to Nashville to speak. Can I meet you for a cup of coffee? I want to thank you in person. I'm going to myself. I'm going, do I want to go down Nashville, Broadway, downtown Nashville on a
Yeah.
Saturday morning at 10 o'clock to meet this guy? He's already thanking me.
Right.
Do it? No, I did. I went, met him, I told him the Dave in the doorway story, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, Don, he says, Sandy, people need to hear the story. I know you've spoken to music business groups of drummers, musicians, but you need to speak to corporate America, and people need to hear this story because it applies to all businesses, personal and business. So that, on his advice, I started getting a PowerPoint together and whatever, and that's how I became a speaker. And now
It,
I have another career. I have another
yeah.
career. And as the God energy looked upon this, what a perfect time to become a speaker right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now I had the opportunity to get my presentation together,
Right.
to write a book.
Yeah.
I had I had the 2 years of pandemic
You
to
have the
write a
time
book,
to, yeah.
all of that. And so everything was like I look back on my life and it was like the God energy being the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, going, okay, okay, all right.
It, everything just, like you said, what you put out there comes back to you sometimes tenfold. And I feel like, good things happen for good people. And I feel like you're a positive guy and you have, that flame of just positivity, you're sending it out everywhere. And also I think, putting yourself out there. And I think there's something to opening yourself up to saying yes to things as
Right,
opposed to saying no all the time. It's easy to say
right,
no, I don't want to go out. No, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to give that guy an autograph. No, I don't want to go to Nashville. Uh,
right.
and when you say yes and you actually do it, it opens up.
You mentioned Nashville, okay? How does a New York guy end up in Nashville? You're not even a country drummer, you're a rock and roll drummer.
Right?
But
Yeah.
you know what? The guy that went into Cindy's gig after me is a guy named, I think he lives uptown Manhattan. His name is Sammy Merendino, very close friend of mine, really great drummer, and great programmer. And he did all the Kinky Boot stuff with Cindy, whatever. But he called me, and I'm still on Staten Island. This is 2013. He called me and he goes, "Hey Sandy, I'm in my sweats, um, relaxing, and me and my wife are relaxing." And he goes, "Hey Sandy, um, it's Sammy Merendino. Do you ever hear of an artist named Jason Aldean?" And I said, "No." the country guy. I said, no, I never heard of him. My wife, who's from Charlotte, North Carolina, says, oh, yeah, he's a big country star. Well, the drummer, they're playing the Garden, Madison Square Garden. This is a Wednesday. They're playing the Garden Saturday. They came into town a couple of days earlier. The drummer, his name is Rich Redmond. He's got his own little podcast thing going on. The drummer, Rich Redmond, is a big fan of yours. We're going to go to a bar in Manhattan. Why don't you come and have a beer? He wants to meet you. And I got to take a shower. I got to get in my car from Staten Island. I got to go in Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, Verrazano, parking. Do I want to go? No. But do I go? I did. I went, had a good time talking to this guy, Rich Redmond. He was a really nice guy. And he said, hey, Sandy, if you ever want to come to Nashville, I have a spare bedroom in my house in Brentwood. You can come and stay anytime you want. And I went, okay, thanks for the invitation, Rich. Thank you very much. I wasn't interested in going to Nashville. But then I went to his gig, Jason's gig, that's following Saturday, Madison Square Garden. He sold it out. And I'm going, what? This is Madison Square Garden. Jason Uppy, and I never heard of this guy. And he's standing, with all due respect, Jason, he's standing in the front like still life. He's like an oil painting with the cowboy hat over his eyes and the torn jeans, and he's acoustic guitar. But the band, Rich especially, is nailing it.
Right.
And it was like a rock band. It was like an 80s rock band back in this country guy. So based on that, and based on the gig that I had at the time, who will remain nameless because of what I departed under unsatisfactory conditions.
Right.
I called Rich and I said that gig that I was involved with at the time was kind of going down the tubes. And I went, hey, Rich, I'll come, I want to come and visit you. So I spent some time in Nashville. Now, keep in mind, my wife, Sherry, has been telling me or suggesting to me, hey, we should move to Nashville. It'll be perfect for you, Sandy. But this is over the years. I went, I'm not going to Nashville. Country music, what? So anyway, I spent some time in Nashville for Rich, and I really liked it. I called my wife, and I said, we're moving to Nashville. She goes, wow. At the same time, my daughter was considering going to Belmont. She was interested in the music business program there.
Right. Yeah.
So the stars kind of aligned. And bottom line was my wife's family is from Charlotte, which was maybe 6 hours from Nashville as opposed to 13 hours. So we ended up moving to Nashville, and that was it. But it's based. Why am I here in Nashville? Because I reached out to the guy and I did the guy a favor and beer with him. You know what I'm saying? So if I would have stayed home that night, I would be in Nashville. I mean, all aspects of my life, Don, have been as a result of me fanning the flame in another person, some way, shape, or form. And you know what? I have to just qualify this. You don't say yes all the time because I get the question sometimes, do you always say yes to all the favors?
Right.
Because let's say, for example, and somebody wants me to do them a favor. Meanwhile, in my mind, my daughter's going to be at a school or whatever, out of work, whatever. Right? She needs a ride of 5 minutes, and I need to. Then I'm not going to say yes.
Right. Certain circumstance. Yeah.
In certain circumstances. So if saying yes is going to take away from your responsibility elsewhere, of course you don't do it. But
right. Have you ever said no to something and then wondered what could have happened or anything like that? Is there any of those stories?
That's a good question. No, I never. But that's a question I ask in my presentations. If it's an intimate presentation, I go, well, think of a seemingly insignificant encounter that you've had with somebody in your life, with no expect of any return, and then it ends up to be massive.
Right.
So I asked that question of attendees to my presentation, but I don't recall any particular thing that I. No, I know. Well, there was one.
All right.
I think again in my mind there was one. Journey was auditioning drummers. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
This is after, I think it was when Ainsley, early in Journey's career, or is it Journey or Journey was auditioning drummers, and I had signed a contract to go to Europe with this German band called Craaft, and we were opening for Queen for 3 months in Europe. So this is before that tour, but I already signed the deal.
Right.
And then I reached out to a manager, a well-known rock manager. I don't know if he wants his name mentioned now, but because I said, hey, Doc,
I was actually going to say, was it Doc McGee?
hey, Doc. I love Doc McGee. He's awesome,
Oh,
and
he's
I
awesome. He's a
know Doc.
legend.
I know Doc McGee since 1980. Okay, when he managed this producer named Barry Moraz, and the Barry Moraz produced Benny Mardones' record, and I played on that record, and off that record came Into the Night, which was a massive hit single. So that's when I met Doc, and then he ended up managing Pat Travers, who I was with in the early '80s, whatever. So
Right.
we're still friends to this day. Nugent, whatever.
Wow. Very cool.
So during this period of time, because now I have an opportunity to audition with Journey, and I'm going, but Doc, what should I do, man? I'm supposed to go to Europe. I already contact, and his quote was, "Just tell them that you didn't mean it. Just, just tell the craft people you didn't mean it.
Didn't
Just
mean
tell
it.
them you were only kidding. Go to that audition." You know what? I stood steadfast to my commitment, and I went on the road with Craaft, and I did the tour with Queen, and it was just awesome. But I didn't audition for Journey. I don't know whether I would have got the gig with Journey or not. Um, but um, but that was one of those gigs where, like, do I regret it? No, because the
You,
Queen tour was storybook. It was.
you probably played in front of the biggest crowds ever, like on that tour. Like,
Man, if I had the wherewithal right now to summon up some photos, we used to do these routinely. They played soccer stadiums and sold them out for 2 and 3 nights.
wow,
So I was
that's
able. So if we were in Paris for 3 days, I was able to see. Unlike other tours where you're in the city for one next, you never get out of the hotel,
right,
or
right,
you go between the hotel and a gig, or the hotel and a TV studio, and that's it. But I had time to see Europe. But getting to know Brian May and getting to know Roger Taylor, the drummer, and meeting and hanging out in a social environment with Freddie Mercury, it was just an unbelievable. And I can tell you stories till 5 o'clock. It's just unbelievable. So, do I regret not going with Journey, or telling them, because it could have happened where, sorry, Kraft, I can't do it, and they'll audition for Journey and not get it.
right.
So I don't know whether I would have got the gig, but I'm happy the way it turned out.
No, yeah, I think life moves you where you need to be at the time, and I think touring with a band like Queen and playing out soccer fields and ultimately living out your manifestation of that young kid who had the picture on the wall and having that it
Right,
is crazy that you actually did that.
right. You know what? They played soccer stadiums, but about once a week they have these gigs in Germany. We call them, well, in Europe they call them open air concerts. And instead of in a soccer stadium would be Kraft and Queen. But in an open air, about once every week and a half, it would be Kraft, and then Level 42, George Thorogood, this and that, and then headlining would be Queen. There would be 4 acts on the bill. Those gigs would be open air gigs. There would be 110,000 people. There would be eyes. My eyes could not see the person in the last. There were people as far as my eyes could see. And that
Wow.
was a really powerful experience, because being the opening act, and the band Kraft was from Germany, so the lead singer spoke English and German and sang in English, but he spoke German to the crowd. The crowd was like in our back pocket. It was just
That's
unbelievable. And the most unbelievable part was, like, Queen had the record company, the first night in each town, the record company would throw them a private party. And Brian May personally invited us to the first night that we played for Queen. He came into our dressing room and go, "You guys sound great. Any problems you have, you come to me. Don't go to your production manager. I'll sort out the issue."
wow.
And you guys are invited to all the parties that we're invited to. My road manager will tell your road manager where it is. Just show your laminate and you'll get in, because it's just We had all access.
Wow.
So, spending numerous nights in the company of those guys, it was just unbelievable. You never heard of the band, but I'll tell you, that was one of the most awesome tours that I've ever done in my whole life. It was just great.
That's freak. And that again with the to today's stuff. Do you ever wish you had one of these, a phone, would take pictures like in those moments,
Well,
or
you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because if I could show you out right behind that door, that white door is my guest bedroom, and on my guest bedroom wall, there's pictures from all over. So know I didn't have a cell phone, but I had a Nikon and I had a video camera. And when we landed in bumfuck Swin
oh, it's
when
okay.
we landed in some place in Switzerland, Heidelberg, Holland, I wanted to go out. If I had an hour before sound check, I didn't take a nap. I went out with my cameras and took pictures because I wanted to absorb as much as I could
Oh,
about, from the place. So yeah, it's just great. It's
yeah,
just great. And to have
amazing.
people like you, yeah, obviously you're a family man. What's your last name?
Still,
Are you
it's
Italian?
English descent. I have some Italian. My mother is Italian and
So
Filipino.
you ate the good food growing up.
Oh yeah,
Your
my
mother
whole
was
neighborhood was Italian. I grew up around
all right.
Italians.
There you go. So, and to have people like you request me to come and talk to, it's just really, really cool. It's just really, really cool. Really cool. And
Yeah,
you know what? You asked before about my picture on my bathroom mirror. When I walk to the front of the stage to in front of an audience of 110,000 people and I'm throwing drumsticks, I'm going, that's the friggin' picture on my bathroom mirror.
yeah, it's
It
crazy.
was the picture on my bathroom mirror.
You
People
made it
applaud,
happen.
waving, whatever. It's just
That's that's crazy. You've done so many amazing things and amazing milestones in your career, and you're still going strong. And you looking at your stuff, I still get a kick out of Tweezers of Your Love. That's still an awesome. For those who don't know, Johnny Carson, you were on the Johnny Carson show with Stump the Band, and you debuted your song. That's
that's
pretty
right.
cool.
It's really cool. And your listeners can find it on YouTube. If you search Sandy Gennaro, my page will come up. There's a Tonight Show, the clip of me being chosen to sing a song and during the Tonight Show Stump the Band segment, 1978. It's unbelievable.
And before I let you go, I do want to ask one thing. Who was you met so many icons and legends, and I mean, Hall of Fame people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, all the musicians. But like when you are there with guys like Johnny Carson or Dick Clark, which of those two was cooler? And yeah, and what was that like? Just kind of being part of an iconic time in music history because we don't have Johnny, we don't have Dick Clark anymore. Um,
Right.
and I feel like I don't know if we have the equivalent to that today, but I'm sure we do
I don't
somewhere.
think
But
I don't think I think Jimmy Fallon still has a little bit to learn from Carson and
yeah,
Leno. But I mean, Carson, and I think Fallon and Leno would admit this that Carson is the prototype. He nailed that whole gig at late night TV. He was just awesome. So I had more experience because I was on Stump the Band in 1978 before I did anything notable in the music business when I moved to LA to get my first big break, sort of. And then I was on again with Lauper, and he
yeah,
came into the dressing room. He came into the dressing room to introduce himself as he always does to the star that's going to be on the show later. And I came over to me. I gave him a pair of drumsticks, and I asked him. And I had short hair at that time, shorter hair. When I was on Carson, I had hair down to my
right.
tits. Anyway, so I go, Johnny, do you remember me on Stump the Band in 1978? This is 84, so it was 8 years. And he goes, no, we had a lot of people. What song did you sing? He asked me, and I said it was a song this song that I used to play as a kid called "Tweezers of Your Love." I co-wrote it. He said, "Are you the guy that gave the chords to the band?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're the only guy that gave the chords to the band, and they still didn't guess the song." That's awesome. And that was when we appeared right at the beginning of Cindy's tour, Girls Just Want to Have Fun and Time After Time we played.
Wow.
And then we went back about 4 or 5 months later, back to Carson, and we saw him again, met him again, and we played She Bop and All Through the Night were the two songs that we played at the second time.
Yeah.
But Dick Clark, I only met once. I didn't meet him before the show or after. During the show, he goes around. He went to after we lip synced "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." He asked Cindy introduce the guys to the band, and Cindy comes back and introduces me with Dick Clark, and I gave him a pair of drumsticks. But that was oh, thank you very much. But I give all the hosts, I give everybody drumsticks. So I had more interaction with Johnny. So I was on it, including Stump the Band. I was on Carson, and then I was on a fourth time with Leno when I was on it with the Monkees.
Oh, wow, man.
The Tonight Show, I was on it 4 times. So be careful what you wish for.
Well, like you said, in your motivational speaking, words equals actions, actions equals habits, habits equals personality equals perception equals legacy. You, sir, have an amazing legacy, and God bless you, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me, man. And if you
Anytime, Don.
and if you can
Anytime,
just
it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I feel like, I feel like you're like family. It was like, you have the Italian side. I feel like,
yeah, I feel like it's a yeah, like you're the like
right.
like when it's from the same neighborhood.
Let me ask you a question, Don. When let's have a little role play. If you were a fly on the wall at your memorial,
Right.
how do you want people to talk about Don? Give me one word or a phrase that you hope people would reflect on your life, and give me a word or a phrase that's going to describe your life that you would want other people to comment.
Wow. I would say off the top, just one word. There's a lot that come to mind, but I'll say like just loyal. For my family and my friends and anyone who puts any kind of trust in me, just to know that I'm loyal to that.
Right. And you know what? I asked that question after I talk about legacy, what you did about the thoughts, what they lead to. I asked that question in my presentation, and I go around and they say things: loyalty, good father, loving, dependable, all of these soft skills. And I'm saying, after everybody said rich, nobody said wealthy. Nobody said owner of a great business. Nobody said podcaster. No, everybody wants to be remembered for their soft skills, not their analytic skills, not their businesses, nobody wants their checking account on their tombstone. Everybody wants loving father, devoted mother, whatever. So concentrate on those soft skills. And when you nail those soft skills of being positive to others, the hard skills come in. That's where you build a company or build a life, solid life, because you have a great foundation of how you treat people and how you think. It's not brain surgery. It's very simple. But a lot of people, like we talked about or earlier, everybody, including Putin and Charles Manson, they all have the little flame inside, it's there. We have access to it.
Right.
You don't cover it with a blanket and try to make all the money you can, or try to take over another country and destroy them, and whatever, all the negativity that you emanate. Man, what the karma, and what God bless him. God bless Putin, because he's got some serious karma that he's going to have to repay. In how many different lifetimes?
Oh, yeah, for real.
I don't know, and I don't want to know how that happens after we push up daisies. But Lord, he's got to pay somehow. You got to pay the piper. Anyway, thank you, Don. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Sandy Gennaro. Everybody check him out. It was sandygennaro.com is the
Yep.
website. Everybody check him out and look for it when he's doing the speaking engagement near you. Amazing guy. You can find all his stuff online too. Awesome human being. Thank
And my
you.
website is sandygennaro.com, as you said. And my email, if you want to send me an email, it's sandy@sandygennaro.com. You can reach me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sandy Gennaro, everybody. Awesome.
Thank you.